Hey, like many of you, I have been doing stuff different this year. I'm a teacher now. I teach students who want to be deacons and pastors and leaders in the church. And like you, a lot of you, I've been doing this on Zoom and digital spaces, and it's a lot because I have to read all the things. Like, you all need to read all the things and show up on Zoom and be present and try to pay attention. And some days it's just so much and so hard. And some days I just can't do it. But one thing that's happening this year for me is that it is super hard. And I am learning so much. I'm learning a lot about myself, but I'm also learning new things. I'm reading new books, and I'm learning how to teach and to be a student using Zoom and Google Classroom and all of the technology that I'm learning. And it's not how I'd want to be learning right now, but I am learning, and that's exciting. And today we have Jesus in the temple. We hear the story about Jesus teaching in the temple, and that he goes to the temple specifically, and he's telling the good news to the people that are there. And the people that are in charge come to him and question why he gets to be somebody who gets to sit in the temple and teach. And Jesus then proceeds to tell these parables about how he comes by his authority, and that it comes from God. And we know that Jesus is God's beloved son, God's beloved child. And so Jesus is sharing this amazing good news that he has learned about how God loves everyone. And that the people who are leading at the time don't get to say who gets to talk to God and who gets to have God's love. Jesus comes and says, that's for everybody. And oh my gosh, what amazing good news that is. That everybody and every animal and plant and the whole earth is loved by God. And that's what Jesus talks about again and again in this passage that you've read about Jesus teaching in the temple. Now, one other thing that I've learned this year that I knew, but I learned again in different ways, is that we can learn pretty much anywhere, right? We've been doing church on Zoom and youth group and Sunday school, and we've been learning about Jesus from our living rooms and our backyards. And we've been sharing the good news through digital space, and as we're waving at neighbors and those we love as they pass by, because we can't yet hug them, maybe. And so in this space too, Jesus goes to the temple, which for us is like going to St. John's, going to the church where we learn about God. And Jesus goes to the temple to talk about God and about how much God loves everybody. And we need to remember, especially what we learned in this year, is that we don't have to just be at church to talk about God, right? We can talk about God and God's love, and we can learn about God and God's love anywhere. And it's not just in the church building. It's just not always at St. John's. Sometimes it's in our own homes, and sometimes it's on the playgrounds. It's on Zoom and phone calls with friends. It's being in the backyard. It's being at the park. In everything that we say and do, we can share God's love with everybody that we know, just like Jesus did. So we have Jesus going to the temple, but let's also remember all those stories about Jesus talking to people in the world and healing them, and meeting people at wells where they draw water to take home, and meeting people in people's homes and on the side of the road and in inns like hotels. Jesus met people everywhere. And Jesus met people at the temple. And so as we're in this digital space, this is that temple, right? We come together in this space, and it's holy and it's wonderful. And when we're able to be back at St. John's and we're able to be in the building together again, that place will be holy and wonderful. And it's a place where we are dedicated to talking about Jesus and what's going on in the world. And then when we leave these holy spaces of being together in digital space or being together in the building when we can do that again, we leave that space and we take the news of God to the world. So when we're in the holy space, we bring the world with us. And when we're in the world, we meet God there as well. They're not separate. One's not more holy than the other. The whole world is God's. And we have the gift of being disciples of Jesus, of getting to share that good news with everyone we meet, no matter where it is, no matter how it is. We get to tell and show everybody that God loves them, because we know first, and you know first, that God loves you.